Well, it's a fresh edition of ESPN's Formula One podcast, an emergency kind of podcast edition of sorts, because we keep saying how we wish we had stuff to talk about, and boy, did we ever get stuff to talk about today. Something pretty big, so much so that we had to call on Lenny Wermke to join us on this one, along with one of my MVPs here, Laurence Edmondson. So the big news today, guys, that Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari have agreed to go their separate ways at the end of this year. Lenny, let's just start off with you, because of course I know you track Seb Vettel very closely throughout his career. How did this agreement even come to place? Just some more of the details that you would have been tracking overnight.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock to all of us. I think the first rumors we heard were one Friday before this weekend. Really, to be honest, even on Friday, we believed that it's gonna sort out somehow. So we kind of dismissed any rumors, but then all over the weekend, and then resulting in the news on Monday night, things really started to get faster and faster, and it just seemed as if every side couldn't wait out to finally break the news that it's over, because I think both sides, when they were sure that they couldn't reach an agreement, it was more of a feeling, okay, let's get it done, let's just come out with the truth so we can both move on, because in Formula One we all know you can't hide things for quite a long time. It's gonna come out anyways, and then be the master of the news, put it out, and then just be happy with whatever the result is, and not just wait until someone finds out and digs after it.
Lenny, wasn't that long ago that Seb was talking about how he sees himself re-signing even before racing begins again? So what happened in that period of time?
Absolutely, that's the stuff. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Laurence. That's the stuff we need to find out. I mean, even if we remember in February when we went testing and we had the quote from Matthias saying we're gonna start negotiating with a glass of wine and a nice dinner, and it all seemed as logic that they were going to end up with a new contract. And in a certain way, it must have been a lack of trust and respect from both sides that made this end in this way that it did. But I can't really say who was the first one getting some doubts, because as you were saying, the quotes from Sebastian were pretty strong about renewing the contract. So were there from Mattia earlier, and it just seemed logic they're going to come up with a new contract. What made them getting doubts on a fresh future? It's hard to find it out at the moment, because Sebastian just put out the words in his press release. He decided not to say anything else. We were trying to get something from him today, but yeah, he decided that he's not going to say anything more. Ferrari also claiming that they put out their position in the press release. Yeah, we need to dig into that a little deeper in the next weeks, but hopefully Sebastian is going to have an interest to finally get his point of view completely out, because as we feel like in the press release, the quotes are interesting, but they don't tell the full story. That's what I feel.
What stood out from you, just from Sebastian's press release and from just some of the murmurs that you've just been hearing?
Yeah, I think if we look at in particular, that's the quote: to get the best possible results in the sport, it's vital for all parties to work in perfect harmony. I mean, so what disturbed the harmony then? What was changing? And that was, I think, the most remarkable quote that is in a press release. And also, if you remember, always the press releases mostly are very, very PR. That's not much newsworthy, but here Sebastian's also claiming that there were no financial matters involved in this decision. So Sebastian, who never speaks out publicly about numbers and about negotiations, is saying in an official press release money was not the case. So that also shows a bit of a hint from him, saying that don't come up with the stories, I asked for too much money, don't come up with I need to reduce my salary and everything else. It's just a matter of he's saying financial stuff wasn't the case. So what was the case then? That's what he's hinting here.
Now, you've been following Seb for a while, and you know the stage of career he's at, the struggles he's been through recently. Do you think he's at a stage where he's actually going to retire completely, or do you reckon he's still got the fight in him to carry on in Formula One?
You know, my colleague Jens Nagler met him in February at the Ferrari lunch for a longer interview, and he had the first chance to speak with him at the beginning of the year when we haven't seen him all over the winter. And his impression was that he was looking as sharp as ever, and he was really claiming that I'm keen on driving again. I'm not going to go in retirement at the end of the season. He was really keen on getting in the car, and I can feel like he wants to keep going in a certain way, but it's going to be very, very difficult to find a cockpit that suits to him, because I can't imagine Sebastian Vettel driving a Williams at the end of the grid. That wouldn't suit to what he always did in his career. So I think he's keen on keep going in Formula One, but as for now, I don't see a realistic option where this could be, because he's not going to chase a title in the teams that are available next year. So that makes him kind of difficult to find the right spot for him.
And before we start to completely dive into what could possibly be next for him, Lenny, as Laurence said, you've covered him for, a number of years, of course, and we know how big he is, especially there in Germany. A lot of the words that people have been using to describe his time at Ferrari are like unfulfilled, unsettled, frustrated. Just how would you describe his time at Ferrari? That could probably give us a hint as to why we're getting this news today.
I think in the end you have to agree because when he signed there, he was the one claiming that he's gonna win a title like Michael did, his big idol with Ferrari, and that what didn't happen. But you also have to see how much was the gap in 2014 between Mercedes and Ferrari, and how close was the gap in 2019 or 2018 if we imagine it. So he brought them closer to the top again. That's for sure. But in the end, if you say my ultimate dream is to win the title, as for now we can say he didn't reach that. So that's kind of a big thing that's going to stay maybe, because for this year it's always going to be very difficult to win the title this year. So from what I can see, yeah, he didn't achieve his biggest dream. So that's something that's gonna last in the end.
And we know that this, of course, got I suppose this is a question for both you gentlemen before we let Lenny go. This social media has been trying to predict what could possibly go on at Ferrari now, who could be up there with Charles Leclerc. Lenny, what are you hearing? If you could give us even a hint into what could possibly happen.
My guess would be Carlos Sainz. Yeah, my guess would be Carlos Sainz signing with Ferrari and Daniel Ricciardo moving away from Renault to McLaren instead of Carlos. I would put my money on that.
Yeah, I think that's a strong link there. I think that makes a lot of sense. But hey, this is Formula One, so you never know. Sometimes we get stuff that makes no sense at all. But yeah, I'd agree with that at this stage.
Sunday Sainz up at Ferrari. Nate would definitely be laughing at that, but we will definitely hear from him another time. Lenny, thank you so very much for joining us. We know that you're a busy man today, so we're going to let you go. And hopefully we get to catch up with you again soon once we do find out a bit more about this breaking news that we got today.
Yeah, I would be happy to join. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.